Hi, Nicola. Thank you for spare time and take our program. And could you say hi to our followers and audience?
Hello everyone, ni hao. My name is Nikolai. How are you? I'm really happy to be here today. Thank you for the interview.
Okay, thank you. And Nicola, I noticed that you have very interesting background before you take the role as the Asia Director for Wine of Chile. You worked in Mobike, right? In
Yes,
Chile.
right. Yes, exactly. In the year 2018, I joined Mobike. Mobike was just starting and launching in South America. So I took the role as the government affairs manager and also the business development manager. So it was quite interesting, and Mobike was quite successful in the first 2 years of operation in Chile before it was sold to another company.
Yes.
So it was quite exciting experience. We make a great impact in Chile. And then I arrived to China really well prepared with the Chinese culture of working, the fast pace of a startup like Mobike.
Yeah.
Reflects also the reality of the Chinese market.
Yes, I believe it must be very exciting experience for you. And would you share with us what is the resonation between marketing chili wine in China and marketing Mobike in Chile?
Well, I believe the thing that it has in common is the innovation. Innovation because we are always doing new things. That is quite important. The difference is that in Mobike we were innovating with a new way of people moving around the cities, right? A new transportation system. Here in
Yes.
China, wine industry and in all the world is a really traditional industry, so it's a little bit harder to innovate.
Yes.
But the innovation is in the DNA of Wines of Chile. We try to push the boundaries in terms of how we promote the wines, what type of wines we promote, the different cities we can go in China. So it's quite interesting, and I believe the our main goal here also is to be diverse and innovative.
Yeah, and talking about the diversity and innovation, so as the director of Asia, what kind of vision you see you are going to bring to this role in China?
Well, that's a really good question. When I first arrived to China, we see this big trend that young consumers were starting to drink wine, and then at that moment we only have a WeChat official account and also a Weibo official account. So we decided to start with the TikTok Douyin official account 1 year ago, and in order to speak to new consumers, right? The way you promote wine is different on every social media platform, and the message, I mean, is different as well. For young consumers, we're inviting them to know more about Chile. Maybe somehow they don't know that much about wine, so we don't speak like in a really serious way. We speak more on a friendly way to them. So to take them to start knowing about Chile, because we know that they also will be the consumers of the future. So it's important to be educating them from the beginning.
I see. So that way I understand that your vision is to talk to the futures of consumers.
Yes, exactly. We see that's moving in a fast pace. These young consumers are open to try new things as well, right? Not only in alcohol, in all the different industries, but in alcohol we see a fast pace in terms of their drinking. Not only, let's say, in beer, they are not drinking only the classic lager beers. They are trying craft beers. In wine, they are not drinking only the classic Bordeaux blends or traditional white wines. They are looking also for natural wines, for organic wines. So these are trends we are following really close, and we know that the market will move towards that.
I see. Yeah, that's very interesting. And when we're talking about the Chile wine, could you introduce to us that how the Chile brands perceive the market in Asia, and what make them feel exciting about, and what concerns them, and what kind of help will they need from this market?
Well, that's a really good question. Well, the Office of Wines of Chile was established in China in 2013, and our office look after the whole Asia continent. So our largest market in the world is China. Then our fourth market is Japan, and our seventh market is Korea. And today we are number 2 in China, besides France. We are first in Japan and first in Korea. So we have been working hard in the last years to reach this. Saying that, our main priority is still China. And why I'm saying this? Because China is still growing a lot. The consumption per capita in China is really low, and the market is still considered immature in terms of wine knowledge, wine experience, right? So wineries see a lot of opportunities on this, right? China will keep growing and growing and growing. And when we speak about China, I like also to identify that China, and this is what I transmit to wineries that export to China, that China is not only, of course, one country, but all different regions are different between the other one.
Yes.
The consumption occasion of in each region is different. The food is different, right? The climate is different, right? So they have a different influence. So the way they drink wine is quite different, right? So we need to understand that, and China is a big country with different layers that we need to understand how to approach each region. And that's super interesting, and that's really exciting for everyone that comes to China, because they see a lot of opportunities all around the country, not only in the big cities.
Yes, and the concerns you think they will have?
Well, concerns, I believe, is a little bit more on the cultural thing, right? First of all, the language is a barrier. And of course, the language is not the same barrier it was, let's say, 20 years ago, right? Now we see that the Chinese trade, importers and distributors, most of them speak good English because they have been traveling as well. Also, some Chilean wineries have some staff of Chilean wineries speak good Chinese. So that barriers has been a little bit changing in the last years in terms of language.
More interactions between these two countries.
For sure.
Interactions.
Yeah, much more interaction. Well, before pandemic, I know that a lot of Chinese buyers travel to Chile. It's really far away. I mean,
Yes,
it's the farthest you can go, right?
More than 24 hours flight?
More than 24 hours flight.
Okay.
Yeah. It's really far away. But once you arrive there, you know that it's worthwhile. I mean, the trip is worthwhile. People love going to Chile, and I have seen this. We have been doing different campaigns in the past, inviting Chinese people to go to Chile, and it works really well. So that has been changing in the last years. Also, we know that Chilean companies travel to China, oftenly twice a year or 3 times a year. So it's a really important market. And nowadays, Chile has a great advantage as well, because we have from the 250 wineries that export wine to China, 250, 10% have office in China.
Oh.
So it's more than 25 Chilean wineries with office in China.
I see.
So that's great, because we can distinguish and we can have a really good service, right, to the clients. We have office in China, so we can give answer the same day, at the same time, in the same language. So that's a really big difference we have if we compare with other associations.
I see. So for those brands who is making success or make great achievement in China, what do you think they have done right to make them success?
Well, I believe the really important thing they have been doing is in the last years is finding the correct partners.
I see.
Yeah, that's really important, because you need to find a partner that is open to build the brand with you, right? That you make a partnership, and both companies, I mean the winery and the importer, wants to invest in marketing, to build the brands, to go and do promotions, and open new sales channels. So I believe that you can see it, that the big Chilean wineries and the medium-sized wineries and boutique wineries that have been doing good in China is because they find the correct partner, and they are consistent over the years with that partners. Of course, it's not easy. It takes time to find a correct partner. It's like the wedding. I mean, find
Yes, yes.
find the people that will stay the rest of the life with you. in 2 days, but it takes some time to find it. But once you find it, you need to be close to it and trust in your partner. That's really important.
Yes, that's great. Thank you. So you are as the director of Asia for Wine of Chile. What do you see the uniqueness for each market in your region, across the region?
Well, as I mentioned before, we are doing really good in Japan, in Korea, in China. We are exploring Southeast Asia, that is developing fast, especially Vietnam and Thailand. Indonesia, we are starting now, that is a really big economy with a large population, but with some restrictions of alcohol consumption in Indonesia, we know. And the other country we are looking to work with, and we are starting with some wine education, is India. India is also interesting. They have a high consumption, especially in whiskey, and the wine is still considered like a luxury product that maybe some status people can drink and afford. But India is also will be in the future an important market. But mainly the big difference we see is the maturity of the market. So Japan is more a mature market, right? Also, it's more Korea as well is a little bit more mature than China. Is following the steps of Japan, we see, and also the concentration of the importers, that's quite different. In Japan and also in Korea, the big companies move most of the volume, right?
Yes.
But here in China, you see it's really atomized. Since you enter the market, you have a lot of importers. Actually, based on our data, in year 2019, were more than 6,000 importers of wine in China. So
6,000.
yeah, it's a really big number. You can imagine. Also, it gives a lot of opportunities, right, for wineries to find new importers, but it's really atomized from the beginning. You can find different. So that's mainly the big difference we find.
I see.
And also the maturity is quite different, right? The way we promote wine in Korea and Japan or China is completely different. We do different stuff. We try to take learnings from good learnings from one market to the other one, but at the end they are different markets. Yeah.
I see. That's very interesting. Such broad region and huge populations, and also not to mention the cultural differences and the various. That's very interesting.
It is.
Yeah. And if we zoom in China, I know that in the first quarter of this year, Chile wine has achieved great success. The growth is more than 40% by value. And if we step back, we look at the overall picture, we will find that during the same period, the overall imported wine actually dropped for 16%. So what do you think are the key drivers behind this?
Well, it's a really good question. I was just speaking with with the local team of Chile yesterday. It's not. I believe this answer is not it doesn't have like one answer, because a lot of things are happening at the same time in this market. First, we have to remember that since the year 2014 to 2018, the market grew really fast. Yes. Then 2019 we saw it because it got a little bit stuck. It didn't grow. 2020 we had the pandemic, and we know that in 2021 we start, and 2020 we have high stocks as well, especially from Australian wines, right, in the market, a lot of stock. So and that stock takes time to the market to sell and to exactly, and so that's why this year we see two things. Firstly, that the market is coming back to pre-pandemic figures. That's really important. That's why we have been growing. Also, there has been a lot of interest in Chilean wine based on the advantage that Chilean wine has, especially this part of the year. We saw it in different activities we did in January here in Shanghai. Then when we went to Chengdu in April, we saw a lot of opportunities, etc., etc. Yes. So we see that it will take a little bit of time also to the market to recover 100%, but we are really happy on the results on the first month of the year.
Yes, that's great to know. And also, when we're talking about China, I want to know how you proposition chili wine in this market, and who do you see as your competitors
Yeah.
in this market, major competitors in
Sure.
this market, and what will be your competitive strategy?
Great. This is a really complete question, but it's good. It's good. I like it. So first, in terms of our main competitors, I believe that Chile imported in between the imported wine countries, we compete in between the other ones. We compete all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
Our main competitors, you can see it clearly, of course, is France, Australia, Chile, Italy, Spain, and then you have other smaller countries that are doing great job as well, like South Africa, like New Zealand, like Argentina. In terms of new world, Chile has some advantage as well, right? Chinese consumers like a lot the new world wines.
Yes.
We can see that.
Yes.
I mean, they have some technical features of the wines that make it pairs really well with Chinese food. The color is really unique, so it's the flavor as well. So mainly, and also I want to highlight the Chinese and local wines that we know that some wineries are doing a great job, especially in the premium segment.
Yes.
I have been amazed about the great Chinese wines I have been trying in the last month here in China. So I'm really happy for that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So today we see that France is a good reference. France has been doing great in the last years. We have to remember that France was #1 till 2018.
Mm-hmm.
They have a really good network of importers and distributors, and the image is super high. So for us, it's a really good reference in the market. Also, we would like to learn more and more about the Chinese wines, right? The conditions the wines are produced in China are really difficult, right? So the way they have been working and evolving and learning is in a fast pace is incredible. So I'm sure that Chinese wines will keep doing super well in Chinese market and also abroad. I will want to see in the future how Chinese wines start performing outside of China as well.
In Chile.
In Chile, for example, yes, I would love to see that.
Yeah, I would love to. And also, if we go back to the question about how to proposition Chile wine in China, here the background is that I noticed the average imported wine for Chile is $2.4 per liter, while the average imported wine is $3.8 per liter. So which means Chile wine are actually below the average. So how you proposition this pricing structure, and is there any plan you wanted to improve?
For sure, yes. Well, one of the main objectives of Wines of Chile, if not the main objective of Wines of Chile in China, is the premiumization, right? With this, I want to say that we promote only the Chilean premium wines that are per case $60 FOB or above that. So, and we are super aligned with the wineries for this message, right?
I see.
That's
what is the percentage business percentage by $60?
Good question. Today, the $60 and above, it means 27% of our exports, right? So we know that Chile has a big influence also in the entry-level wines, OEM market and others, but we need to focus in the premium segment of Chile that has been growing really fast in the last years. Chilean premium wines, icon wines are really competitive. They have great awards and great results, and the Chinese consumers like them a lot.
I see. So, if you would not mind, in your picture of success, how much percentage, ideally, the premium wine should take overall?
Well,
right now it's 27.
exactly 27%. So in our strategy, in the, let's say, for the next 3 or 5 years,
Yes.
we aim to have at hopefully 40% to 50% of our wines on this category. We want to grow also the wines, that the icon wine category in China. It's really big, but it can be bigger, right? Because we know that here in China a lot of people also give away wines, right? As a
Yes,
gifting, right?
yeah,
Exactly.
gifting occasion.
And then we know that in gifting the price is quite important as well, right?
Yes.
So that's a really important thing we want to do. I mean, we want to positionate the premium and icon Chilean wines. We're working on some campaigns for that in the years to come.
I see. So you want to premiumize the overall Chile wine brands.
Exactly, that's the idea. We know that already some premium Chilean wineries are doing super well in China. It's their main market, and there is space for other wineries to grow and to showcase their wines in China much better. And that's when Wines of Chile helps, right? We organize premium quality events focusing on these wines. We match with the correct partners so they can attend to these events and try the wines and explore Chilean icon wines. Yeah.
Yes, that would be very exciting. And also, have you read the latest James Sucklin's report about the Chile wine? They have tested over 1,050
Yes.
wine brands from Chile. And in this pool, over 80% of them were rated as 90 scores. And another noticeable thing is that I think it's 80 wine brands were above 94, which means very good or high premium. You think this result actually reflected the quality of the Chile wine? And how do you think China responds on this result?
Yes, well, that's a really interesting question. We are really happy with the results that the report of the latest report of James Suckling gave. In terms of your question of the points, it's a big surprise to see, a happy surprise to see that more than 80% of the wines are 90 points or above. That shows that we have been consistently doing things well, right? Wineries, and it's highlighted. So it's a really good news for us. On the other hand, I want to highlight some of the analysis and conclusions that James Suckling also gave in his report. He spoke about the diversity of wines as well, how wineries are exploring new regions, not only the big wineries and medium-sized wineries, also the boutique and small producers that are pushing the boundaries of Chilean viticulture in the last years. And I'm sure that is something that we will be speaking more and more in the future here in China, because here in China, so far we have been promoting Chile with our great red wines, red blends, white wines, coastal wines, etc. But we need to do much more on showcasing the diversity of Chile. And that will be super interesting to see in the years to come, how these great diverse wines will be promoted in the country.
Yeah.
Yes, we see also a high interest from women consumers, also the young generation looking for this, right? Exploring new wines, as I said before.
Yeah.
So I believe Chile is completely ready for this, and we will work toward that.
Yeah, that's great. And since you are talking about the Chinese consumers are looking for new wines, they are want to explore another new world. What kind of initiatives or plan you have in place to help Chinese distributors to partner better with the Chile brands?
Great. So every year we do 2 big events that are organized by Wines of Chile. The first semester we do our roadshow. Our roadshow is we visit 3 cities in 1 week.
Very intensive.
It's super intensive, actually. In the past we visit 5, and now we decide to do it on 3 cities. So it's better. We have more energy. So 3 cities, and let's say we focus on tier 2 and tier 3 cities. This year our roadshow will be the last week of June, and we will go to Haikou, Chongqing and Wuhan as well for 1 week. And we will be there with 37 wineries. These events are focused on so wineries and their importers can find new partners, new wholesalers, new distributors inside China, and has been super successful. We have been doing it for 8 years.
8 years.
Yes.
So mainly in second tier city.
It's a tier 2 and tier 3 cities. Yes, mainly that. Yeah,
I see.
that's a focus.
Can I ask why Haikou, Wuhan, Chongqing?
Yes, of course. Well, Haikou, we make the decision because we know the big boom that is happening in the Hainan Island. Also the tourism and also the free trade zone and all the initiatives that the Chinese government is putting in that island. So we want to be part of that as well. We know that Hainan also influenced by Haikou and Sanya will keep growing really fast in the years to come. So we want that the local professionals understand and know more about Chilean wines. Then we decide Chongqing because we have never been to Chongqing before, so it's our first time there.
Very hot pot.
Exactly, and it's the largest city in the world, right? It's super big.
The hot pot pairs well with Chilean wine?
Super good. It depends on the wine, but it pairs pretty well. Okay. So we are quite excited to go to Chongqing. Personally, it will be my first time, so I'm really excited to be there. And the last city we will visit will be Wuhan. Wuhan has been really important for Wines of Chile and for Chilean wines in the last years. We have been doing our roadshow 2 times before, so this will be our 3rd time. And also is a way to show that how important is Wuhan. We know that Wuhan is already back on business with a lot of energy as the city is, right? So we are quite excited to be there as well.
I see. That's great. And we noticed there's a lot of, China is kind of very dynamic market and a lot of things is happening every day, and we notice the consumption trend evolving. For example, like we have mentioned the Z generation, they have growing interest in with wine drinking, and also this female, they shows very strong interest and also strong growth with the wine consumptions. At the same time, different from the older generation, for business entertainment, the younger generation has more occasions to enjoy the wines by themselves. So on top of this, is there any other trends you have observed on this market? And also, is there any measurements or initiatives you are taking to try to address those trends in China?
Well, that's a really difficult question, but it's true. I agree on you. A lot of new trends have been happening in the last years. One trend that we believe that will keep in the future on is e-commerce. E-commerce now is a big sales channel for wine. It's not huge, but it's big. But if you compare how big e-commerce is for the other products, right? So wine, it has a lot of space to grow in e-commerce. We are sure about that. Today, most of wine sales on e-commerce are more on entry-level wines, and people that go for e-commerce to buy wines, they are looking for price, right? Rather than for premium wines or others. This is of course a general observation. There are some specific differences, but so I believe that China on e-commerce will follow the trend of other mature markets, right? What is happening in e-commerce in UK, what is happening in e-commerce in some countries in North America, also in South America. We see that people in mature markets buy more wine for their homes in e-commerce, and it's a really important sales channel. So we believe that in the future, e-commerce will be much more important, and we see Chilean wineries investing on e-commerce.
Okay, if starting from now, from today, we look into the future, say 5 years, what do you see is the success picture for you or for Chile wine, and what do you see as the main challenges on the journey toward your success?
Well, 5 years seems like a really long time in China, right? Things change really
Five-year
fast.
plan. We come and have
Yeah,
five-year
yeah,
plan.
exactly. So, as I mentioned you before, our main objective is premiumization, right? So, in our understanding, first we need to the we need to have more export of Chilean premium wines, of icon wines to China. That's really important, and we need to build that image, right? Every day in China. That will make us to high rise our average price, right? Our average price today is not bad, it's good, but it can be much better, and we know that. So we will work towards that, and also to have more and more Chilean wineries in China, right? We have a really big number, but there are some boutique wineries and small producers that will also need to export more to China, and they have opportunities to grow here. They need to better understand the market. So here is Wines of Chile to help. And finally, and I will repeat what I said before, is showcase more diversity of Chile, right? The consumption trends in China are changing. Chile has really good wines to offer the Chinese consumers, and we need to work in order to promote that diversity of Chile.
I see, that's great. Now I have the last the most difficult question to you.
Okay.
So you know that this morning China has sent the spaceship to explore in space.
I read about it, yeah.
Yes, yes, and the crew is made up of 3 astronauts. If hypothetically we send you as the 4th astronaut in this crew, and you can have the privilege to take 3 bottles of wine with you, what will you choose?
Oh my God.
Be careful.
You make me thirsty now. I will mention the grape varieties, so it's a little bit more bigger option. And I also will mention a little bit the wine pairing with that. I know that in the space you cannot eat the same food that we eat here, but if I can take some Chinese food there, I will love. So firstly, of course, is the classic Chilean Cabernet Sauvignon. I'm a big fan of it. It pairs really well with the beef, really well. So I'm a big fan of beef as well. So that would be the first selection. The second one will be also one of my favorites. That is the Carmener. Carmener is a unique grape variety. You find really a lot in Chile and in China as well. China is a big producer of Carmener.
I see.
Carmener was a grape variety somehow that disappeared some years ago, and it was rediscovered in Chile in 1994. So it has a really interesting story. And Carmener pairs really well with the pork meat. That I know that in Chinese cuisine we eat a lot of pork, right? Especially with the Hong Xiao roe. That is one of my favorite pairings. You have to try it. And at the end, last but not least, I will select a white wine from the coastal regions of Chile, Sauvignon Blanc. Super nice, super fresh, and it pairs really well with fish, especially with steamed fish. That is also really traditional in Chinese cuisine. So that will be my 3 selections: Cabernet Sauvignon, Carmener, and Sauvignon Blanc.
Wow, I think your crew, you will be one of the most popular guy in this crew, I believe.
Yeah, I'm sure about it. With the Chilean wine, everything will be okay.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for your time, and let's see how we goes with this market, and wish you great success for Wine of Chile as well in China market.
Thank you very much. Any question anybody has, we are open to answer and help everybody that wants to know more about Chilean wines.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.